Welcome back, everybody. Other episode was getting kind of long. I stopped it there, so I'll give me more time than we can edit this thing. What we got to do now, we have to match the steel portion that we're going to put on the front of this car to the fiberglass portion. As you can see, everything on these fiberglass fenders from Cool Wheels, it's filed to fit and try to make them look right because they're close enough. That's pretty much what it is. It's good enough for a rally car. I kind of want to make it a little bit better, but it's still good for a rally car. What I'm doing, well, in order to fit the hood, you need hood hinges. This is the hood hinge for an Audi. You know, they used it for a long time. What it is, it goes right here and interferes with the front strut or the cage tie-in bar to the front strut. Can't use it. Then I thought, all right, what do I have in the bin in order to make it work? Well, looking all around, and I found a set of these hood hinges right here. I believe these are AE86 hinges. They could be Toyota Celica GT hinges. Don't really know. But if you take a look, that's a pretty good, that's a pretty good angle to have the hood up so when you're working on the car, it's fully all the way up. What I can do is I can weld a plate onto here and just have it go up and down, depending on where I can access in the hood. I might have to go over here. I might have to use the other hinge over here. You don't know until you have it on. Also, I had this tacked on to right here to tie in the strut tie bars into the cage tie-in bars. I'm looking at, man, that thing looks cheesy. So, what do I have to make look cool? Looked around. This is the seat frame that we from the Eurovan that we cut up for the transmission. I mean, for the engine mounts. I'm looking at this going a little bit over here. This thing looks neat because what it does is it has a bend down here and over. You can cut it. You can just grind some of this stuff away. It'll fit really nice and actually looks like a motorsport item. The only problem is having the holes in here. You definitely you have to have holes in the bottom to allow the water to drain out and drain down the fender. What we're going to do first is we're going to affix this to the chassis so we can get this exact mount or this exact cage tie-in bar on here so I know exactly where it is. And we're going to build off of there for the hood hinges. We're going to do it on both sides. This right here is the strut tie bar that I built. The straight bar that I had when I cut the cage out. These are from the door bars. The door bars was an X-brace in the Subaru. I want this car so you can get in and out of pretty easily. I don't want the X-bars, so I cut them out. And this is the way I cut them out. It had gussets and all that stuff. And I'm looking at it going, well, what can I use? I can't use them for. I don't want to scrap them out. And the strut tie bar, most people just have a single bar. So what if I have this? What is it? It strengthens up this side and strengthens up this side of the bar. Okay. Well, that kind of solved everything. Now I have a full strut bar that actually looks kind of cool. Also, when you see most rally cars, they're all plated on the strut tower. The strut towers on these things are really thick. Very rarely do you have a problem. Even with rallying, very rarely do you have a problem. But we're just going to make it look like we doubled up everything, and it's like, oh, he made a custom form thing to fit to the strut tie and everything. Well, you know what we're going to use? This section I'm going to cut out and grind to fit right on here because it has the exact same profile. Why not? It'll look like a strut tie bar, a tie-in plate, a strut plate for tying in the strut tie bar. That way, you can weld all the way around it. It looks wicked cool. It looks like a motorsport piece. I got to go out and find the other one, hopefully. And we'll get that all done. This thing right here, I just thought I'd mention this. This right here is the strut tie bar for the steering rack. It's not for the actual struts, it's for the steering rack. Because the steering rack bolts into the side of this. There's not one over there. This was also a mount for the, I believe it was, I can't remember. I think it was the coil was right here. I can't remember on the cars, right off the top of my head. I have to look again. Other than that, if we can, we'll get rid of this. We'll get rid of these mounts. We'll clean this all up. I also have this to put right here to go around these ties so I can put the seal on there so all the engine, you know, I can try and seal this all up as best I can so the oil and smoke and shit won't roll into the cabin. Well, we're trying, you know. So let's get right on to it. Let's cut this thing up, and I'm just going to get a rough fit, and we'll cut these out, and we will start making some interesting front side bars. So let's just do it up. See, I basically scribed the mark, is all it is. When I bend it over to meet this, this is going to be a straight line when it bends over. Should be nice. But I don't want to bend it over just yet because I need to get this scribed in order to fit it to the inner wall. Well, when you do one thing, you need a little bit more. I won't take it fully off until I figure out what exactly I want to do. I might just have that thing buttress right into here, not sure. I think it's going to work. Now, before you start installing this, the easiest thing to do is make sure it's the same length. And if you take a look, these are mirror images. They're not exactly the same. So it'll look like you custom made the one over there and custom made the one over here, but just by the way they angle. And then, if you take a look, you're just like, wow, that ought to be pretty neat because they both angle, they both look like the same thing, but they're just mirror image. It almost looks like it was intentional. Well, let's do some grinding here, and I just want to tack it in just to see. I'm only going to tack it in like in one place right here. That is just to get everything set up. I'm going to remove it before I re-weld it because I got to do a lot of cleaning welds around here anyway. So let's just do that so we can just do the other side. See? If you cut the thing off and pound it down, looks not bad, huh? Let's see how it works. Not a bad fit. For a hillbilly. Oh, I was hoping it would be a little bit longer. Well, actually, I got to get the other one made for over there so I can determine what the bar is going to be. As you can see, one tack only. When I want to take this thing back up, I just pull. It will give me, what this does, this tack does, is it gives me a stable platform for me to go over there, make the other one, and then start fitting all the bars. Because once I fit the bars, then I can fit the hood hinges. I can go out, get the hood, and get the hood hinges, and fit these. These things I'm not too worried about because I'm just cutting the tacks and moving them whichever way you want to do. This is the critical thing. These are not. The plates that I'm going to put here, that is the vanity thing, if you want to call it that, because all the other mounts, none of the mounts that are on here normally are going to be used, hands down. Coolant, the windshield washer fluid, everything, all different. So let's go over there and grab the other one. Let's do the other one. This one is much deeper than that one over there because of the fuse box over there. Still have to get rid of this. Not bad. What we have here is a previous tie bar. Previous tie bar was just a, was an estimate, a guesstimate. It's as best as I can say. What I got to do now is to fit the tie bar. Do I care about these? No, because it's on with 2 tacks per side. I'm going to cut those tacks off, pull out, and we'll fit the bar again. We have to fit it to this, so what it is, I'm just going to put it close to there. I'm looking straight down. It should go straight down. I got to pull those tacks off, and I'm actually doing that. Yeah, we'll pull the tacks off. That way we can slip the bar down nicely. But before I do that, seeing how it's resting on the shred tie bars, I'm going to give it one cut right here, and so we can push it right down. There, look, yeah, it's going to go good. Alright, seeing how we're over here, we're going to stay over here. I tacked that over there also. What I want to do is I now want to shorten this up so I can have it sit down and then figure out, actually I'll probably go get the hood, but then I'll figure out the mounts for the hood, bonnet, whatever you want to call it. And this time, I'm going to mark it and make sure it's where I want it. So I don't have to cut more stuff. Well, you can't get any tighter than that. Back from the junk pile. Got the hood that came off the 87 4000. The supposed rust-free one. That was crushed in the back. That was the donor for the bottom part of this car. As you can take a look, it's kind of scraped up, but it has the hood pins in it. Exterior wise, I mean, besides the blue paint and other than that, I have to strip that all off. It's actually not that bad. Went up, got a coffee so I can think about what I'm doing. But I'll show you the real gem of this hood. Take a look at this. This is the gem. The rust, if you take a look. The good thing about having rust on a hood is that if you chop it up, you don't care. If you mess it up, who cares? It was rusty, you're going to throw it out anyway. So we got to make this thing into, how can I put this, a motorsport hood, which means lightening it up, which also means all this rust right here, I'm going to cut this out, the hood pin's right there, and I'll probably pound this down and just weld it to give it strength. I just don't want it to flop about. I'm going to keep cutting as much as I can out of the front of this and out of the support ribs as I can because of a couple things. First thing, we have hood pin. We don't have, this right here is the mounting point for a standard, Quattro 4000, Coupe GT, whatever of that era, pre-87. You have 2 pins or 2 threaded pins and they hold the hood down or bonnet down. If you have a hood pin, you're locking it from the outside, so you're not worrying about this metal having to pull up, especially at a high speed, because you're building pressure underneath the hood or bonnet or whatever in the engine bay because because of the pressure coming from the front of the car through the radiator, cooling the engine generally goes down, but it also builds up pressure. So that's the reason why you see a lot of fiberglass hoods flop all around. We have to do a couple things besides cut a lot of the support ribs out. We have to drill holes. See this side, it's flipped over there where the turbo is. Well, we need to drill holes here to allow heat to escape from under the engine or from in the engine bay out. And we also need over there, we need holes down here. Why? Because when the radiator fan comes on, or when it's blowing through the radiator, besides, it's trying to do the least amount of obstructions of it going through the radiator. Yes, it'll go down, but it's usually it's a confined space. If you allow more air to flow out the bonnet, hood, whatever, and allow that to just radiate out, you're gonna, under the bonnet temperature, under the hood temperature, or whatever you want to call it, is a, the lower them is a good goal. With that, you also have to take into consideration you don't want holes drilled underneath or right on top of electrical components, because if you do, guess what? They'll short out. It's a big thinking like this. So first thing we're going to do, I'm going to cut this out, cut out all the rust, because I don't need any of this stuff. As long as I have this and this support down here, I think I'm good. If I can cut this all the way down straight out, get rid of that, and then let me just whip over here. If you take a look here, here's the hinges. These hinges are a side mount hinge. The Toyota, sorry it's really cold here, the Toyota is basically a bottom mount hinge. How are we going to do this? Well, this hinge sits down 1.5 inches in depth. This is about 1.5 inches up in depth. And over there it's about 3 1/4 from the top plate down. On how it's going to sit, don't know. What I'm probably going to do, I'm going to cut this all out, flip it, shorten it, and then have the same bolts right there, because you know what, they're there, you might as well use them. It's not going to take much more to do it, and I'll have the mounts on the side for this bolted down. We'll get onto that in just a second, but let's first cut out that support rib, and we'll start fitting the hood. Don't want to scratch the paint. Well, we have to shove it up so we can make these lines exact. Because the more exact we make it, the better it'll fit, better it'll look. And we also have to have this gap all the way down. So let's try and take a look at where and what we're going to put for the hinges. The good thing about having the hood pins on the front of the car is when you lift this up, it won't slide off. Let's see if that'll work. I think that'll work. Let's take a look over here. There's the plate, from the Eurovan seat bracket, the bar right there. This is pretty much wedged in. Just have to clean up so it'll pull right out. This was the plate, remember, that I scribed to the front tower and decided not to use. Well, guess what? We're going to use it. Here's one side. Here's the other. Depending on how I want this to play out, it might be right there, but we're trying to take a look with the hinge. I showed you all of the cutting and putting them in together to make those hinges, and I was going to use the Toyota hinges and all this other stuff. Don't work. Problem is, take a look over here, and I'll bring the camera over. And if you take a look right here, I marked where this part of the hinge was supposed to be. I put everything up, and this is where the hood hinge should be. So you can't use it, there's not enough space. All right. I have to jump into my bag of tricks to figure out what is the next thing to do. And this is you run into this all the time. So I'll show you what I kind of figured out. I think you're going to like it. Actually, I'm going to be staying with German parts. I think you're going to take a look at what we got here. We have at least an inch, 1.25 inches, maybe even 1.5 inches difference. I think that's what it is. Yeah, it's about 1.5 inches distance we have right here. What am I going to use? Well, I got this. This right here is from a Jetta, no, Mark III Jetta. If you take a look, if this is, let's just say we are exactly, how can we put it? Yeah, it's 1.5 inches or about 38 or 39 millimeters. Now if you take a look at the top part of this, and you go down to the bottom part of where this thing's going to sit, you're looking at, 35 to, no, about 37 millimeters. It is so close. So what I'm going to do, take this off and cut this right out. I have to trim this off right here. This is going to go down inside here. It's going to mate up inside, and I'm going to weld these things back onto here. What should happen is, when this thing lifts up, it's going to go straight up and out like this. It's going to come out. And this is how the hinge works. I should have oiled this one. There. It's going to go up like this, so the hood is straight up like that. It'll give us tons of clearance, and you can go all more than vertical if you really, really want to. And the hinge is really tough. And don't think this is a special German hinge. I pretty much have the same thing on my '63 Ford Cortina for its hood. Yeah, it's amazing how life repeats itself. So what I got to do, we'll come back, because I'm just going to take this, I'm going to trim this right off here, because I'm not going to use this, what do you call these things? These little pins right here for the hood shocks. Basically what I'm going to do is just going to cut it, like there, cut it, pretty much, actually I'll probably cut it, yeah, actually, what I'm going to do, see this thing comes down right here, comes down right here. This is where it's going to be my welding line. I'm going to cut it right up inside there, or cut it right up here, don't know, or just grind down and make a ramp right here. So when this thing comes back down, I gotta oil these bloody things. It's gonna look like that, and it's gonna sit down flush. I can add washers up and down to figure out where this is gonna go. I don't believe I'm doing this. I think it'll work. Well, we'll see what happens, Let me cut this, let me cut that, pull these things out, and mark where this is going to go, and we will get going. The hinge is going to go right here. That's where it's going to be welded onto, this seam line. This seam line pretty much follows right down here, is the edge of the hood. So if I'm going to put it there, this line, which goes right down here, where is it? It's roughly 2 inches in. Because all we're doing is chopping up. We have 2 inches in right here, right there, right there. That's roughly where it's going to be. This hinge is going to be sitting like this. And if it's sitting like this part is 2 inches in, then this part has to go all the way over to here. And we have to have a pretty big area to, because we're still going to sit there and say, okay, well, I'm going to weld this here, and where am I going to weld that? Well, this is how I'm going to do it. If this is 2 inches in, you have this roughly on this part. Where is it going to go down? Well, I'll be chopping this down right here. So what I do is I bring this all in, because I want to get it towards the base metal, or to the base section of the sheet metal right here. This is all the stuff I'm going to cut. And if you look at it, I'll cut all of this off right here. Cut this out. If I bring this all the way down to here, I can put a plate in here, just a sheet metal plate in here, which will be fine, and I'll make it look even, because I can make it look even on that side. I want to cut this all the way down, and I'll probably cut this all the way up through here, just to get rid of it all. This whole section. And I'm not really sure how I'm going to make this back onto here, but I'll figure it out. So let me just cut it up, and we will get this thing worked around. Can't believe the amount of rust. That's pretty much where it's going to be. Not the thickest thing. I'll probably have to build something up around here, bring something over or whatever. But now I think that'll work. We'll do the same thing over here. Pretty much. I just want to make it symmetrical because there's going to be tons of leeway on where we're going to be actually putting it. Yum. Let's go chop off the old studs so we can weld them onto the panel. Gotta recycle everything. And you're doing this, try and make it look as close as I can to the other side. So you take them, try and make it as close. This is what they're going to look like. So you come down here, there. Slice it up here, slice it right there. And cover the pen. Measuring it up, what we gotta do, see this line? This line's here. You want this gap to be pretty much equal all the way around. It's not a final fit. What it is we're gonna get a really good estimate of where the hinges are gonna go. And what I gotta do, let me go grab my tape measure. As you can see here, you can't see it from that perspective, but the line is pretty much equal all the way around. We're just getting a rough cut, mind you. We have this lined up. Okay, well, what we're doing is we're measuring where the inside, this is how the hinge is going to be. If we're measuring from the inside, it's going to be the inside like this. If I look at it from here, I'm pulling on the inside. This is a standard carpenter type stuff. I'm going to mark, and say it's going to be, actually it's easier to do it in metrics on this one because it's exactly 40 millimeters to right here. Now I'm going to mark 40 millimeters right here. From 40 millimeters, I'm going to take it to the top part of this, right there, which is 80 millimeters to right here. So if I mark 80 millimeters right here, that'll get me to where this point is. Not where the holes are, where this point is. Now I have to sit there and go, okay, well, where is it going to go and where is it going to not conflict? So if you want it right here, I should oil these bloody things. It's going to lift it straight out like that. And you want to have it as far back as possible. So this is where it's going to go. Here is the line for the drip tray underneath here. If I was going to have it like that. This is where it's going to be welded. Okay. This is where it's going to be welded. What I'm doing is I'm just going to turn this over, transfer, and just weld on the studs to right there. This also gives me a lot of leeway back and forth. I can even, hog about a little bit, but it'll give me a lot of leeway to figure out which way it is. So let me go over and do that side. We'll flip it over. We'll spot weld the, or tack in the studs in order to affix it, and we will go from there and see if we have a hood. See if it works this time. Number 2. That is where the stud is right there. It's almost like the same. Let's flip this bad Johnny over. One small tip before I weld these, or before I mark where I'm going to weld, grind off what you need, then mark it, because I've done it. I mark it, okay, ground it off, oh, got to mark it again. All right. More shit that I've learned that it's just through experience and just being dumb because you don't even think about it. So let's set the hinges. We're setting the hinges like this. What we got to do, this section I want to keep at least 2 inches from this line, pretty much, because that'll give me about 3/4 of an inch past the little drip tray where this thing will be going up. Hopefully that'll be enough clearance. So what I got to do there is, as you remember before, it was 40 millimeters from the ridge to here. That's 40, and that is, bring that back. There's 40, and there's 40, right there. So I want to mark in the center where I'm going to tack it. Let me go over and mark the other one, and we will tack in some of these things, because we can always remove them. Now, when you're setting the hinges up, I marked everything where it's supposed to be, so this will move. I also thought, okay, one of the better ways to do it would be to raise the hinge like this. So nothing moves. And you know they're absolutely in the center because you can't see where the dot is. And now I can weld it. I want to set the hinges next. This is pretty much where I want, because I have to, trim out a little bit here, but this is where I want to set the hinges, just like that. I want it, and you also want to bring it, it's going to come up like this. God, these things are stiff. Right there. That's how I want it. And then when it comes back down, right here, it gives me plenty of room here, plenty of room here. This is going to go here, and it lifts up. So I'm just going to tack these right there and right there, so I can move them back and forth and put them on the hood. The 2 bolts I put in didn't fit. What I did is I cut them off, and let's see, just Here. What I did was I cut them off, and take a look. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I'm just going to raise this up to bring it up to be flush right here. And here are the tabs right there. Right there and right there. I got to somehow get my weld. I'm going to weld this tab at least and slowly bring it up and get enough room so I can weld underneath. So let me just weld this tab because I can get my MIG in there. So. I was pulling off this, as you can see, really stiff, not going anywhere. It's all set up. But when I was going up and down, I'm moving the hood up and down, I found this section right here is too weak. It's just sheet metal. What I need to do is put a small stiffener in here to lock these in to make sure they never go down, but also to stiffen this. I'm sitting there looking around going, what do I have? Because I need to put a piece of flat bar and it looks like shit, you know? It's just like, okay, yeah, that's, you know, it's hillbilly, but I don't want to be that hillbilly. Looking around going, what do I have? We shall go back to the Eurovan seat frame. Look at all this. Look at how nice it's bent. And if I can have one of these, or it could be this one right here, I'll trim it down right there and make this from here to there. I'll just cut it right here, then trim everything down and make it work. Or at least try to make it work. So let me just get the grinder up and zip this off. Oh, what do you think of that? I have to make the identical one from over there, but I think I'm just going to weld that. I'll grind this up. I'll weld it into this piece, make sure it's flat. Then these things will all be pretty much countersunk in. Here's where the mounts are. They didn't move at all. They're in relationships because they're really stiff as when I welded them. So they're still in relation to the actual mounts that are there. I'm just trying to make sure this whole thing stiffens up so it doesn't weeble wobble around like that. This thing, it should be fine after I put this in because it's just like a cross brace. I'll weld it to here, I'll weld this to here, and weld around, you know. I'll leave this open, but this will all be welded around there. And then we'll see how it came out. Let me go build the other side and I'll weld them all up. Well, there's the rough support, rough everything. It's still only tacked. It's not going to be fully welded yet. I'll have to sandblast it. You know, just with the grinder, it doesn't really clean the metal that well. But when I sandblast that all, when I do the cage and all this other stuff, it'll give me a good penetration where I'm going to seam it all anyway. So on that, let's get on to, I'm going to throw this on, and we have to fit the front bumper. And after that, we'll work on the sport quattro. But we've got to get the front bumper on. So let me throw this on, and in movie magic, we'll get right back to you.